Mic check, mic check. What's going on, y'all? Where everybody's getting their streams together. Want to make sure that everybody is able to tune in. Let me know when you guys are ready. Yeah. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Once again, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Shopkulture. We got some heaters. Oh, hold on one second, because your mic is not hot. All right, go ahead.
What's going on out there? This is Shopkulture.
There we go.
Every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, we are here. Man, what a week. There's a lot going on. First, I'm joined once again. You guys know who that is? The Doc. Doc was under attack this last week.
That's all right. I'm used to it. How's everybody doing out there? That was bold. Glad you're tuning in.
Old posts, man.
Doc, they were. Whew. And then we got our guest in the back there, Mr. Zach.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, sir.
Discussion points.
And then we got you cutting out.
Oh,
We cutting out Nick Jones.
I mean, I already made my intro. I made my introduction. Fuck it.
Yeah, okay. Let's go.
let's get it.
No intros that y'all want to go into, or y'all trying to just roll right?
No,
into
we're
this?
about to, but I was just doing introductions first.
Okay.
Then I want to ask about. Damn, Doc, you want to get on the topic real?
He been waiting all week.
I can wait.
He been waiting all week to
wait.
address this.
I was done with it a couple of days ago, to tell you the truth.
I was going to ask how your weekend, but I'm scared to.
Well, I had a great weekend. You know,
All right.
He said, Ed said.
yeah. Went out, did some dancing, got some good food, you know.
Doc, you dancing?
Drinking.
Doc, you
Yeah.
Two-stepping.
Let me drop this
Yeah.
off and let me
Went to
go
the Caballeros, ran into
Tango.
Tony Rock.
Oh, yeah.
He was at the cab. He came at the cab.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, man, it was low key weekend.
You didn't get in nothing?
No, man, we had
I know you
kid.
ate somewhere. Where'd you eat?
No, what did I do? No, it was low key kid weekend. We get ready for track season, so it's mission time. Yeah, Lil B is ready.
Can he outrun you yet?
No, he still ain't faster than me.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it.
I'm running about in the 100. I'm running about a 10-6. You know I'm lying. No, so yeah, no, we getting ready and so that's going to be exciting. So yeah, that's where we're at. Make sure you guys, when you guys are tuning in, say what's up. We got.
I don't see anybody.
Okay. So man, make sure you guys say what's going on. I know y'all going to be on this one. So real quick, once you get started, talk about Doc, what happened.
While you're doing that video, yeah.
cut the mic real quick. I gotta tell.
Cut your mic?
Yeah, because I gotta tell.
All right.
Well,
give us. What are you about to?
No, I just want to preface the video. And I didn't know who this group was. It was just the context of the video that I was commenting on. They're
the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Okay. So, which seems to be an extremist group. And the dude was very disrespectful on the street when I figured he should have been out there spitting positivity and something to uplift our community.
Mm-hmm.
But he pushed the buttons of this certain woman that was walking by with her child in the stroller, and she started to act out, further agitate and escalate this whole situation, which is why I made the comment, don't incite and invite, because some men with this mindset aren't the highest don't have the highest level of intelligence. Therefore, they may lash out physically if they feel offended or intimidated. So that is the point I was making. Don't incite and invite that, because I mean, like the old phrase goes, never argue with the fool. because the passerby may not know the difference. So there's a time to respond and there's a way to respond. And some negativity like that doesn't even deserve a response. Don't even dignify it with a response.
Okay. I'm just gonna say, Zach, you wanna say your piece, and I'll say mine. What I see with it.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's important.
So I think one of the key misunderstandings was the word incite implies that it was her fault per se, whereas the intent was to be more of that she engaged with the provocation. Because this group, one of their big things is preaching on the street to provocate. Their whole purpose is provocation. They want people to get angry and lash out, and so it's hard to know what she was going through, and maybe it was just one more straw that made her act out. But Doc's right. You never know when that could turn into violence, when that could become an issue. And it's really difficult to walk that line when your emotions are high.
Yeah, and I guess I agree with Zach here. I also think that sometimes when we see something that is not right as men, first as men, I'm going to say it from a man's perspective, that was all the way left. That was all the way wrong. Not only were they calling her all types of names, she had a baby in the stroller. So my point, I guess, from what I took from it, I don't think that video truly was showing what you were trying to convey to us, what you're conveying to us right now.
Well, let's put some context to it and see an excerpt from the video.
Okay. Yeah.
Church. Listen, man, she came up here, put some money in the bucket, then said, well, give me back my goddamn money. We ain't care about money, man. Money might drive you, but it ain't gonna drive us. That's right. And your mouth is why your baby don't got no daddy. That man done left you, and you're running the streets like a stray dog. That loud mouth is why that man left you dumb behind. Because you're running your mouth like a goddamn dog. You're like Dino from Flintstones. That's you. That's you. You foolish and clamorous woman. Give me that first. Go ahead.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 9, verse 13. A foolish woman is clamorous.
She is clamorous. You know what clamorous means? Loving to run her damn mouth and saying nothing. Loving to run her mouth and saying nothing. Yes, loving to run her mouth and saying nothing.
A foolish woman is clamorous. A foolish woman is clamorous. A foolish woman is clamorous.
Let me tell you something, man. So he can come and get full custody. Because you're crazy and you're foolish and you're out your goddamn mind. Black men love their children, but ain't no black man putting up with that damn nonsense. Ain't no black man staying in the house putting up with that damn nonsense. And as you're putting up with that, you're a goddamn weak nigga. You're a weak ass nigga.
Oh man, yeah. So I don't know that video just is all wrong in a lot of different ways. At least what I take from it.
Several different ways. He's taking Bible context, using curse words, God's name in vain, using Bible verses out of context. First of all, he's standing up on his soapbox. He has a microphone, so it's all to hear. What she has to say back isn't going to be heard. So she should look at her, the way she conducts herself. She's out there with her child. She's got to protect that child first and foremost. And everything that's shouted at you does not dignify a response.
Oh, I don't, Doc.
Like I said in my comment, I believe I said this, with every action is going to be a reaction, especially when we're talking about black folk, you know, into the context of what it is that we just got done saying. There's no way that you could have expected, or anyone could have expected, for her not to voice what she probably felt in her heart of hearts concern and just wanting to give pushback because the niggas was quite, blatantly disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And then I hold them to a higher standard
than
because
her.
it's a group of them on soapboxes yelling at her and barking and all this other. I don't know nothing about Black Israelites, but if this is what they represent, I'm not fucking with it. Bottom line, there's other ways that they should have been able to de-escalate that situation, especially with whether she had a child in tow or not. Again, a pack of niggas versus one Black woman, like that just, I don't know. And in front of all white folks, that just wasn't a good look. I wasn't with it. So
it wasn't a good look at all.
The question that you and this is exactly from your post, is this an example of how some women invite and incite domestic violence against them?
And I think that's where Doc, it went left, because it seemingly
that wasn't worded
shows that you're blaming the young lady.
Yeah.
And that was not on the young lady. I don't care. Those men, come on, there's several men, grown men, saying some of the disturbing, put it like this, okay, if those men were white, that would have been all, we would be chastising, saying like, that's all the way wrong. That's completely wrong. So
I didn't say that.
I didn't say you. I'm just saying, okay, that would have been a totally different vibe. And for us to, even as men, and I'm just saying, because you're not the only one. I actually read some other comments. I went and digged and seen like the original post, and there were some men, oh yeah, that's what a woman gets. We're going to that degree of disrespect. Something wrong with us as men.
Absolutely. For him to shout out, it was ignorance. And when I say invite and incite, it's not from the beginning. It's not like she started it, like she antagonized them. But once you're encountered with such ignorance and blatant disrespect, say he wasn't on his soapbox, say he's standing on the street and he's nose to nose, face to face, and he's shouting these insults at her. The first thing, it would be best for her to consider her personal safety and the personal safety of her child, and not to lash out at I'm looking at the situation on how it could play out negatively for her because of her response, regardless of how wrong he was and how ignorant he was. But there's a way to deal with situations.
All right, Zach.
So that's it still feels like victim blaming. Emotions get high, the logic goes out the window, and resistance is an automatic reaction. It's not something most people plan to do. It's when their tolerance limit finally gets reached, they snap back. And the whole purpose of this type of street preaching is to know exactly what buttons to push to get people to react. And where they chose to do it was to make a spectacle. They want people to pay attention, and they want people to know what's happening. So they make that spectacle by poking the right buttons. It's not her fault when they know exactly what buttons to push.
And why call her out? And why go to the extreme of what was said to her? And then I think we all can say we're for the children, but her baby's right there. That's just, I don't get how it's just.
I think it's good to know what the pragmatic option is, like Doc is saying. We need to know what that option is. But when those emotions are in the way, you can't always make that choice, no matter how bad.
You're not always going to be logical.
Yeah.
In certain situations, especially walking past it's like bastard child and fatherless, and those are a lot of words that provoke a response, and we know that.
Yes, and it comes down to self-control and the power that you're allowing someone over you with their words. If someone can get a rise, a reaction, a change of emotion out of you simply with words, you're giving them control.
Oh, I some situations I would agree, not in this situation. That was again so disrespectful.
Words have power by default.
Yes.
You don't need to give them power for them to.
No, but what I'm saying, you're giving them power over your emotions and your actions and reactions.
I would argue they seized it.
Yeah.
With what?
I would argue they seized it from her. Not that she gave it, but that they seized it.
They took it away.
They took it away.
They took it away. They took away them. What power did she have with somebody who's saying those type of things?
No, she gave them power. I wouldn't say that. How do you allow someone to take power from you with their words. What can I say to you that's going to get you to react?
Well, we don't know her. We don't know her story.
We
all have stories that there's going to be something said that's going to draw a reaction from us all. So for us to sit there and say, well, yeah.
Rachel says, but we're still focused on the victim. And she also says violence isn't just physical. We know good and damn well it's also verbal, mental as well, emotional,
that's
psychological.
abuse.
Right.
That's not violence.
Mental. What?
Violence, I would say, is physical, but abuse is not. There is verbal abuse.
Isn't that
There's
documented?
Violence actually can be those things. Physical violence is only one type of violence. There's all kinds.
There's several different violence.
Yeah, lots of different kinds.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just a different kind of dude because I'm not going to give somebody power over me with their words.
But
Doc, you're a lot older. I mean, I'm not trying to
yeah.
call you're older. This is a young lady though. She might not have learned that. We all have to learn. It's a process that we all have to go through, controlling our emotions.
Right. Self-control.
But just to say, well, she should have.
This is why we're talking about this.
Especially men. And again, those a pack of dudes that's doing all that barking like that, that was unacceptable. Point blank, period.
And I like what Nick said, and I think Nick is absolutely correct, is that, you know, as men, and not only as just men, just, you know, black men, and when we see something like this, like Nick said, you got to stand for something.
Man,
you have to be able to call it out and to say, you know what? No, this ain't it. This ain't it. This ain't it.
And real quick, there was nobody else on that thread. I didn't see not one dude on that thread respond, even a rebuttal. It was nobody on that thread. I thought that was pretty telling. If I'm being honest.
You know, I understand having a conversation about it, and I think that we need to have more conversations. But I will never blame a victim in that situation. I think she was a victim. That's just what y'all think?
Yeah, she was victimized. But then self-control also.
The problem is the discourse is being around the victim and not the perpetrators. Not necessarily that you're wrong, because you are right, but the discourse around it is the issue.
Right.
Yeah, because she definitely could have packed it up and just like, you got a child with you, a baby. Like, just take your ass home.
Right.
But again, we all have a story.
Right.
We all have a story.
Right.
And and I agree with you, Doc, in terms of how to react to things, words per se. But I also understand that, again, it takes us time to learn that. I think that's a skill set. I don't think we're taught just to walk away from situations.
Years of wisdom. I'm still learning how to do that.
Oh, man. That's why we have this show, right? We talk about relationships and how to deal with things inside of relationships, most of the communication. We all need a little bit of work on that.
Walking away and letting things cool down takes practice.
And coming from a cat who's married, Zach, how do you navigate things of that nature?
Exactly what I just said. The ability to walk away and let things cool down before you have a real conversation is the key.
Is it a competition of I walk away the most, so you should walk away? Are you guys doing any of that?
It's only we basically, when we feel things getting heated, it's the first person to recognize it says we need to take a step back. And we recognize it's because we're on the same team. And that the only way that we can come to an agreement is when those emotions are no longer at play.
Right.
So we both are on the same page with that. We both take our step back. However much time we need, whoever's ready comes back. The other person says no, yes, whatever. Then the conversation happens with logic and not emotions.
Right. Which is why I say, as men are hot-headed a lot, if you were confronted with a confrontation, are you able to take your emotions out of it and respond calmly to someone that's escalated and shouting insults?
Vast majority of people can't.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Really? I was about to say,
almost nobody can do that.
Doc, what?
There are very few people.
We are in an era,
and we call them.
We are in an era today where folks are just so absent-minded of like common sense.
But if you would try because I can do that, I have done that, and you see in this angry, escalated person's eye, the second that they feel,
Doc, you can't expect.
Hold on. The second that they feel, I'm not affecting this person at all. I have no power over them. I have no control or power over them with my words because he is calm as a cucumber and he is responding calmly.
Real quickly, KB, what happened? Nick, can you just
preface.
Oh yeah, Black Israelites was on their soapbox doing what they do, giving the flawed word, misconstruing said word, but they ended up getting into a shouting match with this young Black lady who had her child in tow. And we're talking about how those men could have, everybody was wrong. The only person that I saw innocent in that whole situation, like I said in the comments, was that baby.
That poor baby.
But the woman, she definitely could have just packed it in and went home. However, I understand. I try to understand from from her lens how and why she was bucking back in the way that she was. It was a pack of dudes coming at her. So it was just a back and forth, man. And we're going over who was the victim and how said victim.
Well, and then I think
how that situation should have been handled.
The next part of it, I think, had something to do with Doc, what Doc wrote.
Oh, right, and that too. The way that the initial post was structured, that blew up. And then you made another post. You made another post where it was just like you was pretty much doubling down on.
No, it wasn't doubling down.
It came off as you doubling down. From your lens, okay, I know what you're gonna say. Like that's not what my intent was, right? But everybody who was, especially the ladies, they did not see it that way. I read some of them comments, and that's what they were pretty much saying verbatim. Like, you should have just deleted this post, or you should have just kept this to yourself, because all you did was double down on what you said in the initial post.
Can I ask this, Doc? Did you get in trouble at home?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I was just wondering. Okay,
she didn't agree with it.
No, yeah, Miss Jano, she was not fucking with it at all.
That's why I was.
She didn't agree. Yeah, but we agreed to disagree.
Yeah, and that's important in a relationship, because sometimes you're gonna have that. So kudos to you guys that you guys are able to, agree to disagree. Real quickly, do you want to kind of talk about the rebuttal to the next thread so we can?
I'd have to read it. I'd have to see it.
Hold on, I think I took a snapshot of it. I can read it all.
No, he took.
Because I meant to.
Well, Doc, I'm gonna be honest. While you doing that, I did get a few interesting conversations about that.
Oh, let's hear it.
Because I didn't see it.
Okay.
In real time there, so I was 2 days late. Okay. 2
days?
2 days late on it, and then when I, whenever we have controversy, it hit me up on the, how that goes.
Well, y'all can hit me up directly.
I got the post.
I said that. Okay, let's go to the post.
All right. So, I'm tripping.
No, you asking.
So this is the rebuttal that Doc posted.
Okay.
To the initial video. The video I posted yesterday regarding women inviting and inciting domestic violence should have come with deeper perspective on my part. When any woman sees that she is dealing with an immature, hot-headed male, she should not engage and escalate him further. Men who lack self-control and feel the need to use insults and childish behavior that are easily negatively escalated usually resort to violence against the woman they feel insulted by. Somebody is breathing super heavy in the mic. Oh, sorry.
I'm like, no, you've been working out.
I'm sorry.
I heard that. Hey, Dick. I was saying, that's what it be. I'm good over here, but
it's all good. We'll get it. It's ticked.
Doc, you been upset? Hey, I didn't.
It's Doc's like, fuck all it up.
Zach, you heard it?
What's that?
You heard the reason?
I didn't hear it.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Well, I can hear it.
Okay.
In the headphones. Okay. So men who lack self-control and feel the need to use insults and childish behavior that are easily negatively escalated usually resort to violence against the woman they feel insulted by. So ladies, please don't further escalate this sort of person, because they view it more often than not as an invitation to violence. That was that was the rebuttal.
All right, Doc,
that's not a double down. That's when you're dealing with the immature mindset.
Go ahead, Zach.
I was going to say, once again, it comes down to the vocabulary of it. I think is a big piece of it. We're looking at
all of that.
Yeah, we're looking at the attempt to help people stay safe, and now we're talking about what the victim should do. And once again, we're back at what the victim should do to stay safe.
It's about self-preservation.
It's an understandable thing to talk about, but the framing of it made it sound like you were talking about the victim and how it was their fault. So I only read the rebuttal after talking to you about it, so it made sense when I read it. But without that context, I would not have taken it the same way.
Which is why I made the second post to try to put some context to it, because what it comes down to is self-preservation and personal safety, because you never know who you're dealing with when you encounter some unknown that's escalated.
Yeah.
So don't further escalate that, man or woman.
Like how many road rage incidents ended in people getting shot. It's the same kind of concept.
Exactly.
But that might be a better example than a woman getting shouted at in the street.
Being called out, and then they attack, even verbally attack the baby. I just, when it comes to people and their children and all, that's a totally different mindset in terms of nobody's going to be logical. Because I know if that was my son, I'm not going to handle that with logic and being kind and just walking away or laughing about it while I skip down the street. Yeah. Andre said Doc was stress free. No, he wasn't.
Doc was in the comment.
Doc.
Doc was stress breathing.
No stress.
Someone said Wall was breath. Oh man.
So I get the point, and you do make valid points on how we handle situations. You're right. Road rage is.
People getting their caps peeled for
that. Yes. I would like to see the percentage of that. I still think it's fairly low with how many people are driving.
That'd be an interesting find.
Yeah, I think that stuff like that is always highlighted. Not that
it's non-zero, and that's what matters.
Yes, yeah. Not to be dismissive of it, but in the same token, though, that's how we handle things. So you point.
Okay. Hey, this topic was something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are sitting in prison right now for many years because the way they reacted to something, and a 20-second reaction that they're doing 20 years.
Rolling off of that.
But may I ask, though, have you always been like that, or did it take you a certain amount of time to get to a point where you understood?
It took me time.
How old were you when that happened?
I would say 30s, 40s.
How do you think this young lady was?
Probably about late
20s.
Yeah.
She got a ways to go, man.
And hopefully by experience and learning and growing, like we all should hopefully do, she'll get there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I can also see not blaming her for a situation and saying, hey, next time maybe different, walk away, maybe,
but
possibly.
Again, when niggas is heated up like that,
yes,
at the drop of a dime, it's like somebody was saying it earlier. Logic is not at the forefront. Emotions and how one feels, feeling disrespected, and oh no, I know you ain't talking to me like that. That type of that energy is easily going to be transferred, and it's going to keep going until someone backs down or gets tired enough to where they're just like whatever.
It's not backs down; it's reacts differently.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Kenneth said in this group, you got a lot of women who come from a place of hurt. Anything Doc says is always going to be viewed differently and negatively from most of the women in this group.
That's just 4 of them.
Look. Oh, man. Okay. This is still Women's History Month, right?
I thought it was. Wait,
are we still celebrating? It's March, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe they're trying to make his
tighten up. Tighten up, Doc.
But can we also say? Can we understand possibly why they were upset? Is that wrong to possibly maybe see their point of?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, I could see their point of view. I mean, from the context
in
which they,
And just speaking from a man's perspective, like I said, I think I was more just really disappointed in the men per se, rather than the young lady. And I think that again, we got to do a better job of really when we see certain things like that.
Yeah. Taylor says, let's be real. Women don't have to say anything. And some men, quotes men, will still feel justified in attacking them. Some women refuse to behave as victims and just take that as that type of treatment. Sometimes speaking up is taking back our power. And then she also goes on to say that she does not agree with Kenny. He's entitled to his opinion, but that's just his opinion.
Well, T, yeah, I mean, everybody has an opinion, and what part of it you don't agree with maybe that's.
I don't think she agrees with any of
Yeah,
this.
well, okay. That's
But feel free to answer that question.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
I-
speaking for you. You know.
yeah.
I think it's important to recognize that speaking up is how people take back power. Not everyone.
Right.
But for some people, that is taking it back.
Right.
Is taking back power like what Doc said, like walking away? You think that's a
For
form?
some people, that is too.
Yeah.
It just depends. It's different for everyone.
Right.
Or it's how you respond when someone is that escalated and is agitated and shouting insults and attacks at you, when they don't get the response that they wanted.
But not always is like that. Sometimes people keep on though.
Sometimes they'll escalate.
Yeah,
so you get that
it's not.
response.
Sometimes people want a response, and they're gonna do whatever they can to get that out of you.
And when they may get a response, but it may not be the response that they wanted.
They might not, but I mean, again, we're going on them just stopping because they ain't not.
Not all
response.
men need a response
To keep going.
to become violent.
Exactly.
Man.
Yes.
Right.
Hold yourself and other men to a higher standard.
And that's what we're
Absolutely.
trying to
That's it.
keep saying. And I think
On
that's
both
what
parts.
needs to.
Self-control.
Yeah. Don't you think? Do you think as
I
men?
agree. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree. Like, yes, our women too. Like, I'm not giving them no pass neither. There's definitely no excuse for you to get out here and act a damn fool, show your whole ass or whatever. But on the other hand, just as men, like, that should just be automatic. You know, holding yourself and holding your bros to a standard where shit like that shouldn't even be a thing. And again, these are supposed to be Black Israelites. And they're over here, you know, with the whole false prophet type, you know, situation running off at the mouth. I don't know. That whole thing was just trash.
And I still don't see what the purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I would not sit there and keep listening to that type of.
That's my
Message.
point. You don't listen to it. It's garbage. If you're going to stand up on your soapbox, uplift the community, uplift this woman. I mean, for taking care of her child, if she's taking care.
But what's
of
wrong with some men that were walking past, maybe saying the same thing though?
Yeah,
Why? Where were they at, or where was somebody that was?
Again, you
with
can't.
her?
I mean, you can't expect you from anyone else, you know. But I did see some cats that was trying to, like, you know,
Hold her back.
pull her back and just kind of like de-escalate the situation in their own way. But also, you know how we do. Hey man, that ain't my business. I ain't getting in that.
Yeah.
Y'all already know how it go when it comes to like us and our community. So
Social isolation.
So they were trying to de-escalate her or the whole
Yes.
situation.
I seen it as them just trying to pull her back to get away from the whole situation as a whole, because what them niggas gonna do as far as like talking to the 4 or 5 that was on the soapbox yelling
Right.
and carrying on, you know.
So do you think they actually cared, or you think they were just trying to get a coochie coupon?
Oh wow. Okay, well, my mic is off.
Doc,
Just throwing that out there.
Doc on that yak again. See?
Wait, so you think that they were just doing that
I
out
didn't
of
say what I thought. I just put the question out there.
But
For
where
discussion.
did the question come from? If not a thought, that had to be a thought that you constructed in order to even put the question out, right?
Because I know human behavior and I know dudes. And when
So he was
Self-report.
simping. So he was simping basically.
if that's what you want to call it,
Simping, Captain Save a Hole, same thing.
coochie coupon.
Oh wow,
Yeah, say I don't know.
that's
if
an
that,
interesting take.
Sounds like a self-report.
yeah,
That's just me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
No.
Oh, wow, God damn.
Woo. It's getting real already. SK, y'all know every
I
Tuesday.
just put it out there for discussion. I mean,
Huh.
One user says the way he was acting, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he beats women. Yeah. He has an abusive persona, and I gotta say,
abusive, controlling.
It sounded
yes.
like he was projecting a lot.
Yes.
It sounded like he was projecting a lot of that shit on her, and I don't know, man. It just wasn't. It wasn't it.
Yeah.
That's my take. I'm gonna put a bow on it.
Yes, I think we can move on from that. I think we all agreed that that's not the way. Not the way.
All right, so we're going into the next topic, and that kind of runs parallel
To this.
Would y'all
Isn't
say
that
that
something?
It kind of runs parallel to what we're discussing, and that topic is one's definition of woke. What does being woke really mean, especially coming out of 2020 with the protests that was very much heavy and in effect out here in Seattle and as well as around the world due to police brutality, excuse me. of all of those that we have lost that summer, and then even going all the way back to what's that girl's name from LA who got gunned down.
Brianna.
No, not Breonna Taylor.
LA.
Man, it was during the riots. Korean lady shot 16-year-old black girl because she accused her of stealing orange juice. I think her name was Latasha.
Yeah.
Latasha or whatever. But just bringing it back to the topic at hand. What are y'all's perspective, or what's y'all's definition, brand, whatever have you, of the term woke? Is anyone familiar with that at all?
It really seems like it's a catchphrase.
I got
really picking up some steam. Oh, you want to put up?
Yeah, I got some different perspectives here. So one says, "What bigoted white people yell whenever they see a minority on screen? These movies are too woke. Why are there so many woke adverts?" Because we see, I agree with that. And then here's another one, of African American origin, a term which refers to a perceived awareness of social and racial injustices. That's my ultimate take from it personally. Caused to emerge from a state of sleep, stop sleeping, mind control, the matrix, whatever have you, and to become alert to or aware of, caused to stir or come to life. And then the last one here, a state of awareness only achieved by those dumb enough to find injustice in everything but their own behavior. So, as you can see, there's varying definitions of one's take on it. So I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and rock.
Zach, you want to speak on?
Yeah, so actually there's even more definitions than that. There's so many. It's sort of convenient for a lot of people to define it how they want, depending on what they say. But the biggest thing that's important is the history of the word itself. And if you go back to like where woke came from, it was 1940s AAVE, and it was
African American
vernacular English. Yep, and it was written about as people who woke up to the injustice that they were facing, to these centuries of programming that it's okay to be abused and taken advantage of. And so when they wake up from that, they become woke, and that's where the word originated. And it was used throughout the 60s, throughout the 70s, kind of disappeared for a while. And in the wake of the recent police brutality and protests, it's come back into the mainstream. Throughout the early 2000s, it was starting to pick up. And throughout the George Floyd protests, it got co-opted by the conservative mainstream and turned into a weaponization.
Definitely weaponized term.
Yeah. I want to expand on that later, but
yes.
It is now a weapon.
Do we agree? Do we agree with the term? Is it an endearing term? Is it a term that we as a community should embrace?
I look at it as a term of stay woke, wake up, be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the current events, the things that's happening to you, know your history, know the evolution of your history and how it affects current times. Stay woke and see what this has evolved to. See how it's affecting modern day times and the way we live and how it affects your life and the ones around you.
Interesting. Nick, what do you think?
Another saying that I used to hear all the time: keep your head on a swivel. Going back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Protect your neck. That's a hip hop reference. Shout out Wu-Tang.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you were saying though, it all comes down to just being aware of your surroundings and being educated, so that you know exactly what is, or as much as you can possibly know, so that you can navigate, especially as a Black person in this country, so that you can navigate accordingly, so you don't get, caught up in the proverbial rapture, however you want to look at it. I mean, going back to that definition, let me bring it up real quick. Here we go, right here. So, a term which refers to a perceived awareness of social and racial injustices. We had the civil rights movement, and then with this whole reemergence of, I don't even want to call it reemergence. Police brutality has always been a thing amongst my community. White America and their, just things that they've set in place throughout history. It's always been an attack on my community. So I think with the generations that has followed, without said wokeness, I don't think we would have, as a community, come this far. You know, first Black president, just everything, the access that we have. There's still more to get. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's still more for us to get. There's still more that they're, in my opinion, that they're holding back from us. But I think being, again, woke, or just being aware, understanding the playing field in which we dwell in this society every day, like we got to move accordingly so that we can continue to push the needle for a better tomorrow. So that's my take.
Well said.
And it also comes down to being woke is being able to recognize, are you being discriminated against? Being able to recognize unconscious bias. And when I say unconscious bias, because there are a lot of people that come from different walks of life, totally different from yours, that will react and express themselves totally different, to where you see it as racism or discrimination, but they don't know any better.
I think it also deals with the different lifestyles too, not just the racial. I think it has lifestyles that we have to acknowledge. Religion, we have to acknowledge. I think it goes far beyond what we try to, I think, limit being woke to.
I think woke originated as a racial concept, and now it's become a social one. And a little more people are beginning to recognize that it's more about the dynamics of power between social classes than it is about actual race. And race is a huge function of it. It's still
I think
it
started with race,
and our systems have always been racist.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's only throughout recent history are we starting to see that change into other things, where now we have like the anti-trans agenda.
Yeah.
Where it's becoming very dangerous just to exist as a trans individual. And now some of those same systems that have been utilized against your community forever are now being utilized against other people as well. And it's a class issue more than it is a racial one anymore.
Doug, do you, and I'm just asking me from your perspective, do you see woke as just being limited to our community, or would you want to see it kind of expand?
I would love to see it expand, because I was just going to bring that up, and I'm glad you asked. Because
good question, man.
Because the white community needs to be woke as well. They need to be woke too, because a lot of people that were born white, raised white in white communities have an unconscious bias when it comes to other cultures, I should say, other cultures and other races. And they should know that we're all the same. There's good and bad in every race, in every culture, in every gender. There's good and there's bad. And that's the only thing that you should be aware of, or that you should be conscious of when it comes to your mental judgment of people, because everyone judges mentally, good or bad. That's it. It doesn't matter where you come from, how you were raised. Everyone has different experiences and upbringing to share. And I've grown and I've learned and I've shared and have experiences and lifestyles and upbringing shared with me that enlightened me and made me a better person.
So you want to see the word kind of more embracing?
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
I'm going to tell you a little short story. When I went in the military, I was 17 years old. We were up for 14 hours that day. We got to Columbia, South Carolina, and we finally got to get bunked down in our bunks. So there were people from all over the country. They brought us, all these 17 to 19-year-olds together, put us on a bus, put them in a big barracks, and go to sleep. You're getting up in 4 hours. I woke up about an hour and a half later. There's this white dude that's at a bunk next to mine, and there's another brother, black dude, in the bunk next to him. He's sitting up on the side of the bed. And I know he's dog tired because he's been up 14, 16 hours. And I had met him earlier. His name was Spencer. I was like, "What's up, Spencer?" And he was terrified because he was from Portland, Maine, and he had never seen a black person in the flesh in his life until that very day.
So, okay.
So I sat up on the side of the bed, and me and Spencer talked for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then he told me at dinner that night, he didn't ask for the salt and pepper because the black guy next to him had a scar on his face. He thought he got it in a knife fight, and he didn't want to get in a fight with him. He was terrified. So I just told him, look, we're all the same, man. We had different upbringings. We're all the same. We're cool. Spencer became one of my best friends throughout my military career. And he was not racist. He was just ignorant. And once he got to know different cultures, Mexicans, black people, he was the coolest, non-judgmental dude that anyone wanted to know. And he did very well in the military.
I mean, yeah, I guess, I mean, and that's great. I understand that. I would want to see woke expanded though.
And I would too.
I don't know necessarily. I would say, white people, we need to jump on board and that'd be, I mean, okay, but I want to see it also expand to maybe even the political, to policies, to things that really, to dive into the things that really affect communities.
Because it's about the systems of injustice. And the only way to fix that is to change the systems.
Yeah, and so how do we change?
So
to me, that's what being woke is about.
Yeah, being woke is about changing systems, right? Recognizing it's only the first step.
Holding hands and singing Kumbaya, it's great.
It's gonna take.
It takes more.
Something that everyone. It is my opinion. It's gonna take a lot, and I mean something that folks are just, in my opinion, are scared to, particularly our community. It's going to take bloodshed. It's going to take. It's really going to take some throwing hands and contact, if you will. But folks is not. We got a lot of we got a lot of bed wenches, coons, double agents, however you want to call, whatever you want to label them. We got folks that within our community that work against our community to, again, we talked about this before, to get to that seat of that proverbial table of whiteness. So I mean, there's a lot of psychological and emotional and just physical untangling that needs to be done, and we can't be done if you're not going to change policy. So right, and I'm kind of put our platform on the chopping block, because we talk about this relationship stuff all the time because we want to get that understanding as to why men are the way they are, women the way they are, and how we can bridge that gap. And however those conversations go, y'all already know how it is, right? But just more often than not, I see a lot of just contention. Is that the word? Negativity. No one's willing to, hear one side coming from a place of understanding. We can't even do, that's just basic shit. We can't even get that right. So talking about how we can go in and change a damn system, like, I don't even think folks should be fixing their lips to do that or talk about that if they're not even going to be really about it.
So I've been studying this for a long time. I've looked at through history, various social movements, the way they developed, to various emancipationary movements. The biggest pattern is community building, grassroots. It all starts with taking care and building your community. And community starts with talking to your neighbor. What are their needs? Boom. Can you help them out? Right? Can they help you out? When you start talking to your neighbors, communication, you start to realize, wait a second, we are all seeing similar problems. Wait a second, maybe we can start helping each other and building self-reliance on our community, because we have this misunderstanding that we can rely on ourselves as an individual. No, we can rely on ourselves within a community of people that build and support each other. So once we can start building those communities, then we can start talking about what comes next, about how can we start making real change. But that does not happen until we're together and united.
Well, I think also you have to have a common denominator. I think most of it is
systems
we look at monetary. We're all kind of working poor, so we have to take a look at that and see what's going on with that. How can we change? What can we do to change?
Expand that wokeness, like you were talking about.
So that's what I keep on saying. I think it's more than and I appreciate what Doc was saying, but I think it takes a little bit more. It takes really understanding of policies, how this government functions. What can we do to go in there and change from within it? And we got to see more of that.
And the problem is you can't always change from within. And so the issue becomes,
especially if we're not really within.
Right. We're not within. We're all on the outside.
We're not.
You got to understand how it moves.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. It's helpful to understand.
If you don't,
but I get where you're coming from. But I'm saying just from our perspective as Black folk, we're just it's not. We're not in there like we're not embedded in there like that.
You are absolutely right.
So let's mixtapes and rappers and whatever
the system was built for people like me, and that's the reality of it. And so it's hard. It's hard for me to come from a place of saying I need to tear this down when it doesn't directly affect me. It's purely from a place of empathy that I have to take this, and that takes effort.
Right.
And most people are not going to be empathy,
willing-
even within our own
willingness
community.
too.
It's not going to
And
be.
that's what we need from all communities standing on a common ground with that empathy.
Nobody going to do
But
that.
if you look historically, the system was created by white men for white men.
But
So
There's a key piece there for rich white.
yes, it's
Right.
not just for that's,
Right.
that's
For
the thing.
rich
That's why I
white-
said it's monetary.
and
we got to look at it from a monetary.
and they're still holding on to that. They know it's a flawed system, but it's not a broken system because it was designed this way.
For them, right? For them.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, though, what
The commonality, the common thread through all of this is the class of working poor against those who own everything. When
which is
people
a lot
don't-
more working poor than it is the
Exactly.
It's a lot more. Look at
there
the
are
numbers.
way more numbers. And the reality is that the fear of the most white people is to be treated like a black person. And that is where the poorest of the poor
Oh yeah.
becomes where that fear is maintained. You see homeless people by design. Without that fear of being homeless, without that fear of being mistreated, you're not going to go to work and do your job. And so there becomes this monetary motivator,
yeah,
the mandate, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
and so it becomes the people who have to work for a living against the people who don't have to work for a living.
And that goes for poor whites because they have even a better advantage than I do.
It's true.
Definitely than what a black woman does. You know, so it's important to make those.
I agree with that.
To distinguish,
But I also say that we have
Right,
a
right.
common. We do have a common.
Yeah.
We both-
Even though there are those differences, even though it is disparity
Both-
within the ranks, it is still a similar class. It is still the same material needs within that
and
community.
that's what we need. I think we need
Yeah.
to focus on.
Yeah, we're focused on helping each other materially,
And I think you
socially.
can. I think you can. I've seen it. We've seen it in other countries. I think absolutely it can work.
Mutual aid networks.
And that is a Western culture thing. I'm glad you said we've seen it in other countries, because if you look at other countries, other cultures, if you look at Australia, if you look at United Arab Emirates, you see none of this that you see here. You don't see the racism there. You don't see their racism, and even in India, there's different classes. There's different classes of people, but there's not racism. There's no, like United Arab Emirates, let's take that for instance. There is no middle class. Either you're rich, you have it in abundance, or you're poor working class.
It's feudalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're serfs.
I wouldn't say that it's right, but that's the way it is. But there's no homelessness, there's no drug abuse.
Ooh.
There's minimal mental health. They deal with it. I don't know how they do it. Maybe they kill it.
Autocratic and not good for the people who suffer those problems.
It is not.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
not.
It is very violent.
Right.
So I yeah. Do we agree though that living in, and I have to ask this, somebody asked me that living in the United States is the greatest country?
Living here has its privileges because we are the imperial core. We use a lot of our resources. Huge percent of our tax dollars goes into making sure we can extract resources from other countries, making sure that we have a military base surrounding all of our potential adversaries. And it creates this, and our geography creates this really safe zone for us to live in, with the benefit of all the wealth extracted from the global south, from Africa, from South America. All of those resources get poured into our country for wealth. And so obviously a poor person here is going to have it better off than even a middle person in the global south, just because of how much extraction we have done, how much imperialism we have done.
Even in the global south, they probably don't even know how bad they have it, really.
A lot of them do, and that's why we have immigration. That's why there's so much immigration up to the United States. It's because we destroyed their countries, and now they're wanting to go to a place where it's not destroyed. And it's only a matter of time before things change. But the reality is that it's great to live here because we are.
Up there said that, but women are second-class citizens in United Arab Emirates. That is something that women need freedom in those countries. But let's rewind United States and Western culture to the 1940s and 1950s.
Okay.
It was the same thing. We operated the same way. Women were second-class citizens. Let's say before the 20s, women weren't allowed to vote. They got rights to vote. It's a great thing. Up until the 50s and 60s, up until 19.
All right. Sorry about that, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's where I'm at with I've given my take. Everybody else's take was pretty insightful, and it's safe to say that I've learned. Excellent on your
we're gonna actually talk about the
appreciate
isms.
You for coming through.
We want to dive into the isms because there's a lot of isms, especially
with woke. Like
what are some examples of isms?
So one of the most popular is
communism,
socialism,
socialism and communism, because they're always intertwined.
Well, they're actually different. So the isms have multiple systems, right?
Okay.
So systems of governance and systems of the economy, systems of labor. And so when you get this situation with socialism and communism, for example, socialism is democratic state in your the operation socialization is helping people like generally speaking, it's the relationship means the production. So
we have a lot of isms out.
But the key piece with woke is fascism, because woke is a tool of the new American fascist uprising. And it's important to keep an eye on it, how it's being used, and be aware, be woke, that the way it's going to get used is not the way we just discussed.
Oh, actually, Rachel, what's up? Rachel said something good. She said socialism and communism.
Oh, that was Tama.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, two different things.
Yeah, they are very different.
No, it's right underneath it, she said, were the countries, the mix of socialism and capitalism countries.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
there's
Like the
several
unionization in Europe, they have way more socialism over there because they have high union membership and their unions actually work for the people. A lot of the unions here don't really work.
Right.
So they don't end up working for the people. It doesn't, even though they're in form a union, they're not in practice a union. So if Europe,
well, they tell you that.
Yeah.
When you're paying your dues, you automatically have to pay.
But they're mostly for the union.
Well, it's for the, actually, I've learned a bit more about this lately. It's actually more for the person making the decision. So it's the people, business agent. Right?
She has Canada too. Canada.
Yeah, Canada has some socialization, but they're not quite as socialist as one would expect because their workplace regulations are a lot closer to the United States than Europe.
I really want to, when we go on, I really want to kind of dive into the United States and really understand our capitalist society, because it's, I think, it's very, when you compare it to other places. And yeah, there's some things brewing.
Yeah, we are the driving force, and a lot of Europe does what they do because we have economic control over most industries. Not necessarily the industrial production, but the monetary value associated with it.
And I think America getting back to being a producer is to have is to have an employee-owned companies.
That's a fantastic example of socialism. It's one of many,
and it works.
Oh, well, some argue that it doesn't work.
Okay,
we're in a system that works those forces. Really good examples of whether or not it can or can't work.
But what it does is the employees, though, when they necessarily working.
Then you look at Starbucks union. You look at Amazon labor union. Right. It's working.
Yeah, that's working.
Amazon's working.
So the Amazon labor union is starting to work, right? They're unionizing all sorts of warehouses. Chris Smalls is going around giving speeches and helping overcome some of the barriers Amazon's putting up for the unionization process. But the reason that the Amazon and Starbucks unions are so successful is because they're not these established entities with corruption. They are just a bunch of coworkers saying, hey, we don't like the way we're treated. Maybe we should get together and go to our boss and say, we'd prefer it if you treat us better because we're the ones who are actually doing the work. Without us, you're not making any profit. Without us, nothing happens. So maybe you should allow us to have a little more say in how we get treated. That's what's happening in Starbucks and Amazon.
I have to read a little bit more about Amazon because I know there has been some
internal
strife.
That's with the structure of any organization, there becomes strife. And that's why conflict resolution is the most important skill for any community.
Right. And there are employee-owned companies that have had very successful models and have avoided unionization by making every employee an owner. And there was an example.
So are you guys against union?
I'm pro
organized union, pre-organized traditional union labor. I'm against it. And that is why hold on. That is why
stop.
Hold on. That is why America is a consumer and we're not a producer anymore.
As actually the unions are not the fault of the
it's the high wages that the union demanded and the products and textiles that we were producing, we couldn't compete on a global scale because of the if it was an employee-owned company and every employee is getting the stock options and getting a percentage of the profits of that company. Just recently there was a paper company say it was in Michigan.
CEOs are making.
Hold on. I'm just saying there was a paper company. It was employee owned, and it was I want to say it was in Michigan. I could come up with the facts.
Okay, please.
Okay, the company sold out to 3M. Okay, the CEO comes and says we sold the company to 3M. Everyone is going to keep their jobs. They're going to get a pay raise. It's going to you're going to be an employee of 3M if you choose to stay. If you choose to stay or not, your portion of the profits of the sale, if you've been there for 5 years, you're getting $200,000 or $300,000. If you've been there for 10 years, you're getting $600,000. And in their jobs. Some people with 3 family members working at that company for over 10 years. The company,
I mean, it still doesn't.
It's a good example of how we can do things better than we currently are for the most parts. However, the vast majority of things that we have, like Barry was saying, there's record profits every single year, record shareholder dividends every single year.
It's not even in the same.
It's the
Actually,
actually.
I mean,
Doc.
I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
So, if
no,
so you're
I
saying
can't.
if we unionize, the CEO is going to make less money?
No, what I'm saying is workers deserve more money.
Okay.
Absolutely
The CEO
more
to
money.
decide
I
whether
don't.
it's
I
him
don't disagree
or
with
the
that.
operations.
Yeah,
I do not disagree with that. But is the CEO going to make less money? No.
Yes.
But you just have to.
The need for more profits issue. Why can't people be happy?
Just say greed.
Yeah, it's greed. It's
American greed.
It's not American greed. It's fundamentally how money has power under a capitalist system. It's the fact that we incentivize more money because more money is more power.
Yeah.
So people will do anything they can to get more of it.
All right, guys, thank you once again tuning in. Shop Culture every Tuesday, 8:00. Dang.
All right, it went long.
That
It
was
was
heavy.
a good one.
Well, yeah, we started talking money and
Yeah, we went
They
deep
went
in
above.
there. And the damn Wi-Fi all of a sudden. Any
Yeah,
other live?
man, listen, when
we
we talking
good.
their lives, you see what happens.
Hey
When
man,
we
we apologize for that. We gonna get that nipped in the bud. But we appreciate y'all for tuning in again every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. right here, Facebook Live or Shop Culture Live. Whether you're viewing it from B's page, Doc's page, the group's page, YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe, dislike, hit that notification bell so that when we go on, you know that we're going on air and getting it in and talk that shit. And it also puts us in the algorithm to broaden our audience. So we would definitely appreciate that. And any final words, fellas?
Well, I just want to say stay tuned. Y'all know I'm going to come up with something this week to provoke discussion.
Oh Lord.
I just want to keep your mind rattling, keep you going. I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh boy.
Perspectives. Let's
Counterpoint.
get it.
I'm here to build community and make sure that we can all communicate better and have better conflict resolution.
I like it.
There we go.
Yep. Shop Culture, Tuesdays at 8.
All right. We're out. Y'all be safe. That's game.